All right, so we're going to do our third lesson in chapter 5 for trigonometry. And this lesson is on cosine law. That's 5.4, cosine law in your package. And we're going to be doing front and back. And I will also post these answers that I made alongside with this video. All right, so cosine law. Just like the sine law, we can use it on any triangle. Right? It's different from our trig ratios, which can only be used on a right angle triangle. So let's just draw a triangle. Right? Let's have angles A, B, and C, and therefore sides A, B, and C. Now with the cosine law, if you know, say, two sides, like this one, and an angle, you can figure out that opposite side. Call this side angle side, or SAS. Okay. And in this case, we would say that, well, A squared equals C squared plus B squared. It doesn't matter if you do B squared plus C squared or C squared plus B squared. It's the same thing. Okay. And then subtract 2 times C and B, or B and C, whatever you prefer, okay, times the cos of this angle A. And that's your cosine law. Okay? And you can write it for any angle. If you know this side angle side, you can write it to find C, or if you know this side angle side, you can write it to find B. Okay. You could also use the cosine law if, let's get rid of these. If we know all three sides, so we know this side, and this side, we can use it to find any angle. So let's look at that. Let's say we wanted to try and find this angle A. Well, I can take this equation, and I know everything in this equation. I know all three sides. So we're just going to rearrange to solve for A. So how are we going to do that? Well, first, we can bring all these terms to the other side by subtracting them. So we'll have A squared minus C squared minus B squared equals negative 2BC times the cos of A. Okay, and now this is being multiplied by cos A, so we can divide both sides by minus 2BC, and you want to divide the entire side by minus 2BC. Just erase the triangle and continue above because I've run out of room here. Okay, so here I have cos A on this side because all of that will cancel. So we're left with cos A. And I'm going to keep that on the left side because I have a habit of always solving for what I want on the left side of the equation. Equals, now what I can do with this negative is put it through to every term. So I can get rid of it on the denominator and just switch the sign of every term in the numerator. So we would have C squared plus B squared minus A squared. All over positive 2BC. And then you can take the inverse cosine. So A equals the inverse cosine of this, C squared plus B squared minus A squared over 2BC. Okay, so the cosine law is very helpful. You can use it to find any angle if you know all three sides, and you can use it to find a third side if you know SAS, side angle side. Okay, that's the front side of the sheet. Let's look at the back, and we have a problem that has 3 steps to it. So let's work through this problem. It says in triangle ABC, side B is 20 centimeters long, side C is 16 centimeters long, and angle A measures 40 degrees. Use any method to complete 2 and 3. Can the sine law be used? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the cosine law because I've already taught you the sine law. And I want you to figure out if you can use the sine law. And if you can, try it. Right? I'll have my answers on here, which I'll post. I won't do the sine law in the video. In the video, I'll just go through the cosine law. But you can check your sine law answers. So number 1, draw the diagram. Okay. just draw some random triangle. Here we're going to have A, B, and C, and therefore opposites C, B, and A. Okay, they give us B, which they say is 20. They give us C, which they say is 16. And they give us the angle A, which they say is 40. Look at that. Side, angle, side. We've got some sass there. Yes, that was a joke, by the way. All right. Part 2 says find the length of A. Well, that's perfect, because we have sass right here. So we can write A squared as C squared plus B squared minus 2 BC or CB, whatever, times the cos of our angle A. All right, now we're just going to start plugging in what we know. So C is 16 squared, B is 20, minus 2 times 16 times 20 times the cos of 40. And if you plug all that into your calculator, you'll get 165.732 and so on. Remember, you're not done here. I sometimes see a lot of students stopping here. You're not done. I mean, it doesn't even make quite sense. Does it make sense that this is 16, this is 20, and that's 165? It doesn't quite make sense. The reason why is you've only solved for A squared. So to solve for A, we want to take the square root of both sides. And we're going to take the positive value because, again, what's negative length mean? I don't know. Okay, so we're going to get 12.9 centimeters. And that makes more sense. Now, can you use the sine law? If you were to look at that picture, can you use the sine law? Right? You do your ratios. Basically, can you make a ratio where the only unknown variable is side A? All right? So think about that, and you can check it on my answer sheet. Let's move on to the third part. Write A as 12.9. Third part says determine the measure of angle C. So right here. What is that one? Okay. You might think of sine law. A lot of people go straight to sine law when they're doing angles. And maybe you can do it with sine law. I'll let you think about that and then check my sheet once you've attempted it. But let's use cosine law. So on the front of the page, we did go over an equation. We rearranged it to be able to solve for an angle if you know 3 sides. And we know 3 sides. So we can solve for the cos of this angle C. And if you go back to the equation that we rearranged, okay, it's A squared plus B squared minus C squared all over 2AB. Okay, so let's just plug in what we know. So this is 12.9 squared plus B squared is 20 minus C squared, which is 16, all over 2 times A, which is 12.9, times B, which is 20. Okay, and if you do that, you'll get, well, 0.6016 and so on. But this is solving for the cos of the angle C, not C. So to solve for C, we're going to take the inverse cosine. Plug that onto our calculator, and we'll get the angle to be 53 degrees. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. Right. Try to see if you can do 2 or 3 with sine law, and then check my worksheet. And then I'll also post some textbook questions that you can do in the description. All right.